Hello, welcome back to the readings of the Funk Treatise, 5th edition, by various people. Today, we have Hayley Beiermeister reading pages 271 through 280. We are almost done with this 5th edition. We got Hayley and two more people after her. And so, without further ado, before I even say that, Hayley, thank you again for reading these pages and sharing your thoughts. And so, let us get started.
Reading pages 271 through 280.
I'm going to pause so I can find myself. Oh, there we go.
Be transmitting with another being or technology galaxies away at the speed of thought. But this leads to an extreme exposure of the self into selfless. Even though all of existence has been on display since the beginning of time in observation of itself, this would be a live conscious exposure of everything connected within its systems. If you had a dirty thought, not only would everyone know, but also every connected funk monad across the entire universe, and that data would be permanent and irremovable. But at the same time, everything processing, you having a dirty thought would know why you had that thought and how you felt about having that thought. And they would feel these processes of information together in an immaculate reactive way. The brain thinks, but not now connected together in a technological shared intelligence and experience while still remaining as individuals.
Again, we've kind of covered this kind of thought before earlier in the treatise. Um, but what we're kind of expanding off here is like if we were able to like link our minds together in some way, to where our consciousness was this collective consciousness, this kind of hive mind uh, scenario. We could each still be individuals ourselves, but everything else would be connected into that. And so, if you had this dirty thought or something like that, then everything and everyone would know you're having this dirty thought, but they'd also understand why you're having this dirty thought. And then you would also be having this communication with every other brain on the planet that wants to connect with this. Because some people, would tune it out and be like, whatever. But everyone could just literally talk about it at the speed of thought. The world and the possibilities that could bring would be fascinating.
Personally, I can see endless possibilities with these ideas of technology, accessible abilities within brain communications, but I can also understand how many individuals would be afraid of it, as not only are many people afraid of being judged or examined by others normally in everyday life, but many people are afraid of who they are themselves. If we had the ability to experience the perspectives of each other, then vulnerable minds with insecurities would be exposed to change or accountability. Every action and decision would be clear, accessible, and further open to the community and challenges, just as everything is with the universe already. But we, as conscious individual and social beings, would be entering into more constant states of self and selfless awareness and analysis. This moment is forever. The entirety of reality and existing has evolved into processing us through this exact moment or moments of me, us, thinking, typing, and posting these digits of data and influence, and you reading and assimilating these words right now. And we, as a connected reality, are connecting closer and more quickly across time. As physical objects, the distance we travel is limited to speed, but as quantum particles, we are already experiencing the future. As time is a mathematical mental construct, and we are in our perspectives moving through the present past as superimpositional states of current to future beings. Every decision, action, and reaction you make, by choice or not, is made possible by this evolutionary harmony of current as well as past and future existence. X amount of time has been experienced and has evolved itself into this current message you are processing. And now within whatever act of free will you as an individual, a collective unit of subatomic funk energy, have choice after choice in what comes next within your current limitations and environments. From the smallest wavelengths of particles of energy all the way to the immaculate idea of God and or beyond, we believe to have control of ourselves, but we also do not have control of ourselves. It is just the way the molecules of our observed quantum particle states are acting and reacting with whatever environment surrounds them. There can't be nothing because there is something, and because there is something, there is all an in-between and without. And even removing something leaves proof of an existing something. To even achieve the concept of nothing, you must do or have something, as even the title/form, nothing, implies something. True nothing would be the absence of absolutely everything, even empty space. Wherever there is existence, there is a further greater existence around it, a holarchy of everything and nothing. I guess what I'm aiming to inspire you to question is, how are you at every second or plank, which is a caravanial moment of our being, going to choose to influence your environment, reality, and be remembered and forever recalled as a structural data within eternal quantum history? In which way will you attribute to our immortality? The collective funk history. We must escape self-doubt and achieve selfless parability together. The concept of faith is present in both science and religion. We must have faith within ourselves and within each other to achieve a progressive beyond, both within and without ourselves. If you exist within direct or indirect time or space contact of this message, I sincerely request your partnership in an effort to create or influence the best possible existence for everyone and everything as we move through our present states and into our history and futures. This love will never die.
So, normally, I'd be kind of breaking this down a little bit more and explaining things uh, as they're said, kind of in a way. But at this point in the treatise, we are now 270 pages in, going into 280. Um, and most of you have heard these ideas and concepts already before. And the call for parability. Um, and normally I would, kind of explain these ideas for those of you who are just now tuning in. But I think that at this point, right here, uh, is pretty much a good summary of the ideas and concepts that we've shared throughout this entire treatise. And that is a reason why I have that choose your own adventure kind of line to where if you want earlier in the treatise, you can jump all the way to, what is it, page 266, which is, not very farther behind before this. And so if you travel from 266 or what is it, 100, no, it's different on the 5th edition. So let me scroll up to that. And so on page 263 here, you can jump from page 180 all the way to this moment of page 263, or you can come from pages 3, 48, 65, or later on in the treatise, back to this moment. And so you don't have to examine all of this and take it in all together at once. I mean, you can use it like a book, read through it all together, or if you just want to skip ahead and see the evolution part where there's a little bit more thought put in. There's all these years of thought summarized into this compression, and that starts kind of here at this moment on these last few pages. This is kind of the second and third edits of the or the editions of the treatise, and so I have a little bit more concept and understanding and grasp and time I've talked about it with more people. I've learned a little bit more. More time has passed, and I've fed more in, and now I can summarize it in a more collective way. And that's what you're experiencing here uh, in pages 270 through 280 and beyond. And so, if you still have questions about all these things, feel free to go back. Feel free to go back and look through. Um, but I think that that basically is a great uh, starting or stepping point of where we are right now. Whether you're just now tuning in, or if you have that much more understanding, because here we are again together. So let us continue. I gotta refund myself.
Saturday, October 17th, 2020. My watch tells me absence sharpens love, presence strengthens it. Benjamin Franklin. Saturday, October 24th, 2020. I am feeling extremely connected, enough to open my laptop and type this here now to you. I am experiencing the funk at its present point, and I have had a strong sense of it all day, of my connection and influence to reality and what it is. And about 10 minutes ago, I had the idea that I should share this as a Google document so that it can be postulated and edited by each of you, us. June 20th, 2024. Finally achieving this with the fourth full edit. Zorsteri to the Ateliki. We'll link later. August 23rd, 2024, sorry. There is a document shared.
And so, yeah, if you want to go in and edit the document in your own way, you can do that. And so it's probably going to change over time. The more people who do that, and let's open this and see if anyone has done any edits. I doubt it at this point. I don't know how to check if people have edited it or not. Not gonna lie. I don't know. I'll figure this out later. Show all comments. I'm sure it's something like that. Maybe this is it. Last edit. Yeah, all of these edits have been by me so far. Okay. So let us continue. You can do what you want with that. Hopefully, people don't come in and just tear it apart. So I'll probably have to save multiple editions of that.
Oh, that will be the document. Okay. I want anyone who is reading this or editing this document information, knowledge, or experience of to understand that I want you to believe, to know, and continue learning what is best for you, us, and all. And additionally, that I love you in whatever way the funk provides. If you are editing or attributing to this epistemological information and quest of, do so out of philosophical good will, and document everything for the greatest algorithm of us all, funk.
And again, just another call for pairability.
Art. There's a couple of links. We are connected. Podcast.
She missed a little bit. So I've been going through these around this time. There's a podcast for epistemology and for ontology from Oxford, I believe. And then this came up from a search, but I haven't listened to it yet. I will within time. And it's for the Panpsycast podcast, which I really enjoy. Very good podcast. Wonderful host. They're very funny people as well. It's a very entertaining podcast. June 20th, 2024. It is a fantastic, entertaining, and educational podcast. I definitely recommend it. And I recommend it together as well, now as well. And then it says we are connected. Then we continue.
She has keywords epistemology. I I want to know what that's about too. And ontology. We are connected, yes. Okay. Now, Monday, October 26th, 2020. You are a camera. There's a YouTube link. Sunday, November 1st, 2020. David Burns, American Utopia. Definitely. Yeah, I've heard about it. Love that. Okay. The following are notes from my phone since my last statement and recording of You Are a Camera. They will likely transform across time through mine own or someone else's editing. You are a camera, a physical receptacle recording for and from self-perspective snapshots of the illusions of form, reason, and time within our surroundings. What you believe you know is what you are able to capture within your point of view across existence. But you can never capture everything. Therefore, you can never know what to believe except for what you've captured and or created and or what you selectively believe out of what others have captured and or created, which is still only believed to be both by yourself and what is not you.
So what I mean by that, by you are a camera, is you are only ever the things that are in your perspective. You are a collection of this whole experience of what is around you and everything. Uh, and you can take these snapshots, you can video record memories, you can take pictures with your brain and mind and everything. But everything that exists out of that, you have no idea of what it is. You may have some semi idea based off the collections of information you receive from your input, but uh, you're just a physical receptacle recording from, for, and from self perspective. Uh, there's more to that, but you heard it. You can listen to it again or read it if you'd like. And then the song "You Are a Camera" is from the album Museum. When I was working at the Manil at the time, I wrote an album about my inspiration behind that. Um, and that leads to an even longer story. But the track is one of my longest tracks, and it started as like a basic idea. I believe it's in like 34 or something like that as a time signature. I can't remember exactly, maybe like 27 or something like that. Um, but it's a long time signature. Um, but I made the song, and then the idea was to have this like ridiculously long drum solo. But the drum solo is just me like playing the drums on my keyboard, just like improvising around and just like mashing and making it up and everything. And but then like later on, it evolved to where like I just kept improvising multiple layers over and over that, and then taking the song and relaying it throughout the entire piece as well. Um, it's a fun track. If you ever check it out.
If someone has achieved something, to say that they are not allowed to do it in that way is a limiting farce. If you walk from point A to point B and I teleport, when you arrive and find out that I got there faster, how can you say I can't do that when I already have? A comedic example is in the movie Semi Pro. Spoilers. Will Ferrell's character performs the first alley oop, and the referee at first calls the score a foul, and people respond with, "You can't do that." Eventually, it is discussed that it is a legal play and an accepted shot. Everything is perfectly imperfect / imperfectly perfect. Even if you have 100% faith that there is still a chance whatever you believe could go awry or be untrue, but having more faith and belief causes more chance of happening than when there is doubt presented. As the more doubt there is, the lesser the chance of an event happening or being true. Yet, even with 100% doubt, it also could be still proven true or untrue. Faith, hope, courage, and belief are not the same, but they serve as supports to each other. There is never a proper description of what we are as we have not become it yet. And when we become it, we are already becoming something else. June 20th, 2004, the Malavian
2024.
Malavian process of something / anything constantly becoming a yaw of itself. Peer disagreement defeats knowledge.
And so I say there's never a proper description of what we are because we've not yet become it. And I said that back in like 2020. And when we become it, we're already becoming something else. And Maylivian was a word that came to me last year, which kind of describes the complexity of life, but kind of within one word. You can look up the definition earlier in the treatise. And a yaw is something that is basically just another form of you or anything else. If you removed an atom from yourself, that's a yaw of you. Or even you're becoming another yaw at every moment right now. You're transitioning into another caravannial frame, becoming a different yaw of yourself. You're now an older version of the self that you just were. But yaws could be something that are that close, literally atom by atom or frame by frame, or they can be something completely super far apart. Like the Big Bang is a yaw of us, of me, of you, um, depending on whether the Big Bang actually happened or not. It's still kind of theoretical. Let's just say the beginning is a yaw of us now. If you're familiar with Theseus' ship, they're both yaws of themselves. Theseus' ship is a yaw of the new ship that you make out of Theseus' ship.
And now I'd like to preserve the following list here for an additional.
And then here, again, we've come to the concept of peer disagreement defeats knowledge. We've talked about that multiple times throughout the treatise. But when someone truly disagrees, like I'm not talking about misunderstands or dismisses, but if someone completely disagrees, well, partially misunderstanding and partially dismissing. But when someone, a peer, disagrees, then you're not exactly at the true knowledge of something. Because if I could say something and it be absolute knowledge, then you would get it too. You'd be like, oh, shit, I kind of get that. But you also have to be willing to want to do that. You can't dismiss it or misunderstand it, but some will. Because some people have the ability to interpret knowledge. Some people aren't ready for it, it's a time thing. You may just not be able to comprehend it at that time in space-time or in your evolution.
Study of Connection. It's a Goodreads link, the Good Place reading list. June 20th, 2024. I have recently acquired all of these books and will be leaving future notes as I finish each. These are the books. What We Owe to Each Other, T.M. Scanlon.
I tried to read that, What We Owe to Each Other. I got like maybe a third to halfway through it, and I just had to put it down. I'm going to have to, again, this is an example of sometimes you're just not ready for something yet. It's just so dense and sometimes over my head. And like I would just need someone to be there to discuss this with, almost page for page, and be like, what the heck does that mean? What has been something that's already been discussed about it? Like, what would a collection of philosophy majors or even professors or anything like? What's the consensus on this book? Because it's a little bit difficult to read.
Death by Todd May. The Metaphysics of Morals.
Death by Todd May, I recommend. That's a good one. It kind of talks about how death is probably death is likely the most important part of life, because if we just hung around forever and were just immortal and had no death, then life would kind of become meaningless. And people say that life is meaningless now, but it would become even more kind of meaningless because eventually you would do everything, and you would just be like, okay, what now? What now? You've done it all. You've become this being that can exist through time and space, because you're immortal, and you'll eventually get there, and you'll be able to do literally everything, and even moving to the next moment would just be, you've already kind of been there. I can't remember who proposes this, but a philosopher put the thought experiment of like, if you were ever in that kind of situation, if you had the power to like be in control of everything, eventually you would just get bored, and you would make something outside of yourself that had its own complete control, just so that you could experience something brand new and be like, oh, and then you would just keep doing that over and over and over again, and then eventually, theoretically, you get this right here. You get all of life and reality, and it's chaos and uh, contradictions and paradoxes and everything.
Immanuel Kant. Tao
Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals. I've read that. Um, it is another dense read, and then the rest of these are still in my queue. And basically, I read like one every 4 other books, so that I don't get overwhelmed. But the last few months, I kind of put books down, and so I'm a little bit behind.
Te Ching, Lao Tzu, Groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals, Immanuel Kant, The Republic by Plato, A Treatise of Human Nature by David Hume, On the Way to Language, Martin Heidegger, How Good People Make Tough Choices, Rushworth Kidder. We have Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. These are literally all the books that were ever featured on The Good Place, and so uh, I just got them all. I bought them all when I had the money to do it. Over a few months, I just ordered them online, and I have all
Discipline
of
and
these now.
Punish, The Birth of the Prison, Michel Foucault, Bhagavad Gita, The Song of God by Krishna Dwaipayana Vyasa. The Essential Foucault, selections from essential works of Foucault, 1954 to 1984. Miguel Foucault. Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. Ethics Without Principles, Jonathan Dancy. Jonathan Dancy. Reasons and Persons, Derek Parfit. No Exit, that's one of my favorite places. No Exit, Jean-Paul Sartre. Critique of a Pure Reason, Immanuel Kant. The Essential, Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard. The Myth of Syphilis and Other Essays, Albert Camus.
Sisyphus, not syphilis.
The Methods of Ethics, Henry Sidgwick. The Sickness Unto Death, Soren Kierkegaard. Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Friedrich Nietzsche. The Gay Science, Friedrich Nietzsche. Considerations on Representative Government, John Stuart Mill. Introduction to Metaphysics, Martin Heidegger. The Basic Work of Aristotle, by Aristotle. The Most Good You Can Do, How Effective Altruism is Changing Ideas About Living Ethically, Peter Singer. Two Treatises of Government, John Locke. A Brief Inquiry into the Mind of Sin and Faith with On My Religion, John Rawls. Paradise Lost, John Milton. What is Called Thinking, Martin Heidegger. Ethics and Limits of Philosophy, Bernard Williams. The Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle. The Theory of Justice, John Rawls. Watching the English, The Hidden Rules of English Behavior, by Kate Fox. Conduct and Character, Readings in Moral Theory, Mark Timmons. An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, John Locke. The Trial and Death of Socrates, Rithero, Apology, Crito, Phaedo, Plato, by Plato. Minnow, by Plato. Concluding Unscientific Postscript, Soren Kierkegaard. Euthyphro, Plato. The Present Age, Soren Kierkegaard. Aristotle's Nico-Machin Ethics, David Mills Daniel. A History of Philosophy, Volume 3, Late Medieval and Renaissance Philosophy, Occam, Francis Bacon, and the Beginning of the Modern World, Frederick Charles Coplson. Justice, What's the Right Thing to Do, by Michael J. Sandel. A History of Philosophy, Volume 4, Modern Philosophy from Descartes to Leibniz, Frederick Charles Coplson. The Case Against Perfection, Ethics in the Age of Genetic Engineering, Michael J. Sandel. Leanne Terrible, Victor Hugo.
With Leon, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's French. But the book that I got is entirely in French, and I can't seem to find an English translated copy online. If you have one or know of one, please link me or send me that way so that I can put it on my bookshelf. Or else I'm going to have to translate it page by page through Google Translate or something like that, and I know it's not going to translate it well.
Whatever Happened to Good and Evil, Russ Schaefer Landau. Notebooks, 1935 to 1951, Albert Camus. The Beginning of Western Philosophy, Interpretation of Anaximander and Parmenides.
Sorry, I'm not correcting because they're just take a lot more time.
Let me read that again. The Beginning of Western Philosophy, Interpretation of Anaximander and Parmenides, Martin Heidegger. The Rebel, by Albert Camus. Lysis, by Plato. The Philosophy of Alain Locke, Harlem Renaissance and Beyond, Alain Leroy Locke. Critique of Practical Reason, Immanuel Kant. Natural Goddess, by Philippa Foot. The Collected Dialogues, by Plato. Life After Death, A History of the Afterlife in Western Religion, Alan F. Siegel. A Fragment of Government on Government, A Fragment on Government, by Jeremy Bentham. Paradise Mislaid, How We Lost Heaven and How We Can Regain It, Jeffrey Burton Russell. The Hope of the Early Church, A Handbook of Patrick Eschatology, Brian E. Daly. The Coming of God, Christian Eschatology, by Jürgen Moltmann. Ponderings, 2 through 7, Black Notebooks, 1931 through 1938, Martin Heidegger.
That was the most expensive one. Not that you need to know that, but just thought I'd share. And also, if you're listening to this and anything ever happens to me or anything, don't destroy these books. Some of these you can't even find anymore. Or they're becoming very rare. And that's why that one was so expensive. And so, this is... I pass this on to whoever wants it. Essentially, that is never going to destroy it and is going to continue also passing them down. That's also the plea that I make for physical editions of my treatises. Do not throw these away, please. There are only a few of them out there. And I know it's free online and everything. You can find it there. But if you ever just don't want it, give it to someone you think might. Pass it on. And then tell them the same thing.
Sorry, that is a 6. Ponderings 2 through 6. Black Notebooks, 1931 through 1938, Martin Heidegger. The Quest for Cosmic Justice, Thomas Sowell. Religious and Philosophical Aspects of the Lozoi, Mark Csikszentmihalyi.
Great job.
The Concept of Time, Martin Heidegger. De Anima, Aristotle. Aristotle. Superman and the Philosophy. What Would the Man of Steel Do? Mark D. White.
And so again, I'm reading one every 4 or 5 books of other things. Uh, and so it's over 80 books. It's going to take me a while. If I read one book a month, and if only these, uh, I think I calculated out it would probably take me like 6 to 8 years or so, something like that. Um, and so it's going to take me a while. But, it's all for you. It's all for this.
August 23rd, 2024, more suggestions from outside of the previous list. So 2 more. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz and Being Logical by D.Q. McInerney.
Oh, and there's one from the 7th edition too. November 16th, 2024, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
There we go, McInerney, D.Q. McInerney. Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. I would like to propose an idea for a program that came to me last night about what I am thinking to call the future universal networks of knowledge, or FUNK. The idea is a global or even perhaps eventually universal work study exchange program of people and resources of every nation, country, planet, or galaxy that chooses to participate. As low as every 3 months and as up to every 2 to 5 years, depending on your position, study, wants, or needs, people within the program would be assigned and relocated to a different location to work, live, connect, influence, create, thrive, etc. Monday, November.
And so, what I mean by this future universal networks of knowledge is that a very common issue I see with people who aren't happy with life or everything is because they feel stuck. They feel stuck in this place, and they need to kind of expand themselves uh, by just relocation, just altering their perspective in some way, and it would help to like expand our experience with each other and how to understand other cultures, and hopefully eliminate uh, or at least do some alleviation of like racism and uh, classism and all these things by putting us with each other and letting us learn from each other and everything, and causing all of this mix and mash to be an even greater melting pot than what it is now. And so no matter what you do, like let's just use fast food for an example. Let's say you work at fast food, um, every 3 months to X amount of years, the program would send you to another location where you can either do the same job, or since you have the experience doing the same job, if they need an upgrade, they can train you for that. And you can learn that. And then if you're needed elsewhere, you can go do that. Or if you want to do it with school or learn something, if someone needs help in a certain area, you can apply for that and be like, I'm interested in that. I would love to learn to do this thing. And so you could go using the Funk Network program, jump into that wherever it is, and then you could just keep doing that throughout your whole life. Again, this is another example of uh, the trophallaxis of information, experience, and wealth and everything. To just be able to help each other uh, thrive even more, better ourselves at every moment. And so, if I ever, get the ability to do something or create a network like this, boy, am I gonna! And I think you'll like it. I think the biggest opposition that I think I would face is like, oh, that's going to be a international security risk and everything. But that's fear mongering. That's going to happen all the time. We're going to eventually, since we are so connected, reach a point to where we're all watching and monitoring each other in this uh, digital panopticon and also in-person panopticon, where everything is connected and we're holding each other accountable. And if you want to be a part of this thing, then uh, then you can. Then we're gonna background check you and everything. We're still gonna be watching you, and even the program people in the program are gonna be watching you. And if you fuck up, then the whole world knows in a way, and they're gonna you're not gonna be able to do it as well as when you weren't doing crimes or other or killing people and stuff like. Um, but I think that for the most part, it's kind of like the trans debate of like, oh, men are just going to be trans so that they can abuse women. that is so statistically just going to be rare, because that's just predatory men that you're worried about. And yeah, there's still going to be people who could abuse this, but it's going to help way more people. And then those people, now that they have more knowledge and experience, might be a little bit more prepared to handle when that does happen, when something uh, negative comes out of that scenario, you know, and then we all can work together for it.
November 16th, 2020. We are compiling ourselves, and the deeper we do so, the more we can know and reaccess. We are compiling ourselves, and the deeper we do so, the more we can know and reaccess. Saturday, November 21st, 2020. More notes from phone. When you cut the corpus callosum and disconnect the right and left hemispheres of the brain, you get two completely different personalities, one left and one right. This adds to my theory that we are not one soul, but that souls are a category and we are divisions of okay. For example, sports is a category. There are many different types of sports, like football or baseball, and within those sports are different constructs forming the category, like players and equipment. And it can be reduced down ad infinitum, as well as be extended beyond the category of souls ad infinitum. Infinitum. Oh my God. Infinitum.
Infinitum.
If souls are, and I know what that word is, I just stink at saying it. If souls are a category, then beyond souls and without souls are also possible categories. June 12th, 2022, semicolon, forevermore holarchies.
Now, later expanding from that, I think souls are basically influence. And so you're being influenced by my soul. My soul is now hosted within you, and it's just doing that at every and any direction and capability. It's the entire spectrum, and so souls aren't life necessarily. Souls are influence, ideas, the way that everything affects each other.
Our bodies are like avatars, and our conscious minds the players. If you disconnect from a game, your avatar sits motionless, or also disconnects from the game. So theoretically, is that what happens to us when we die? Our conscious players connect to another interface, and our avatars return into the data of the game. Doxastic defeaters equal counter beliefs. Normative defeaters equals counter evidence. Imagine you
And those are what I'm looking for in this treatise right now. If you have stochastic normative defeaters of any of this information or ways to evolve it or defeat it, I appreciate that. Leave a comment down below.
are one of the three completely separate and individual entities or beings. The second being is destructive / reactive toward the third, and or causing it to suffer. What decisions and actions do you take, and or how do you react or respond? Continue adding more entities ad infinitum. This is what it is to exist. Here is a two-dimensional visualization. Apply it to our dimensions, and it is a representation of what it means to exist. What does one do? It looks like split into thirds, +4 +5 +6 equals infinity. The circle could be reality. 1 is you. 2, it means not you and not 3. And 3 means not you and not 2. What is the reaction of response of 1 with all of those calculations? I love that. It's very interesting. Okay.
So, to show you what that looks like, is essentially this right here. Uh, and so, the diagram would be reality, right? And this is, again, a holon. The funk would be everything outside of this, expanding beyond and everything, but everything also within. And so when you have kind of anything, whether it's one, two, three, if it's one whole itself, two, or everything, um, everything that's within reality, right? And so existence, something that's within existence, and another thing that's within existence. And then you can add or subtract another four, five, six, all the way to infinity, right? One, let's say this is you, right here. And then two is anything that is not you, right? And then three is anything that is not you, that is not one, and is also not two. And so three is an entirely separate thing. Two is an entirely separate thing. One is an entirely separate thing. But they are all together part of the funk, right? And so they all exist as one, but they are also separate individualities. And so when something else starts to consume the other, or even yourself, and even if they add more, if more comes in and starts taking space away, and another starts consuming that, and so let's say two consumes three, and then four comes into the equation, and then now there's just one, two, and four. What is the reaction in response of one? What do you yourself do? What can you do? What will you do? And I don't know the three body problem, what that is yet. I haven't dived into the show or the concept. Um, but that's a three body problem in a way. But you can apply anything to that. It could be, and we'll get into that in a second. Or we might be wrapping up here. And so let me see what page we're on. Yeah, 279. So yeah, it might not. I think it will. Let me see. Yes, it will. It'll kind of semi-explain it. It won't get the whole thing, but let's continue.
Two. Okay. Sunday, November 22nd, 2020. In response to the above photo and statement, Will Morris. Well, the idea that existence can be quantified and represented by a simple drawing accompanied by a few sentences of text is where you lose me. I mean, first, there isn't a proper way to even start explaining the idea with enough nuance for you to fully understand what it is to exist as me. It's like,
Correct. I don't know what it exists to exist as you, but this still applies with anything. You, or whatever. Again, I'll use more examples later.
explaining what an emotion feels like or what colors look like. Next, there isn't any context to the scale or perspective of said entities. The things take on a new meaning. If I am human compared to if I am an insect or something fundamentally different, like a supermassive black hole.
So let's use that example. If you are a human, uh, and the other realities that exist within your funk are a black hole and an insect, what do you do? What do you do with that? What do you do as you? Or if you're the insect, what do you do as that? Or if you're the black hole, what do you do? Now that you're within this greater funk and you have these other two things, though we know it's a almost infinite amount more than that. It's more than just humans, insects, and black holes. There's list of things. Uh, you understand what I'm saying? I'm not. I could just sit here and point and name things, but let's move on. Um, but just that it works with any of these things. And so, what do each of these things do?
How do I know what actions are available to me? When did I get the ability to add entities to the equation? And which personality will they represent?
You, depending on the entity, it is either up to you or not up to you. Like, and I'll explain some more examples later. Like, you can create ideas, you can create spit. You can create waste or art and everything. But then there's things that are out of control that just happen, like other people or wind, trees. Different entities, elements.
And these are just the really basic problems that will ultimately boil down to how do I even know that I exist?
Whether you exist or not, we know that this moment is happening and that you are one existing with other entities. And so what do you do?
Do I believe in Descartes' idea of I think, therefore I am? It, if I do, how do I know those other two entities are really there as well? Do I trust my senses, even though it's only through secondary receptors that I can even perceive them? I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, man, was just saying earlier, it was a tall order trying to wrap up something so big with such a small premise. Sean Penelber.
You've known me all these years. It's Penalber.
A lot of things we experience in nature can be reduced and represented.
Again, as I said in a previous video, and this is also one of my stand-up jokes, if I had a raisin for every time someone mispronounced Penalber, eventually they'd start calling me the raisin guy.
Visually, mathematically, or even artistically. And there are even problems that don't solve the equations that come from themselves. They are just able to reduce it down to what existence has learned so far. For example, E equals mc squared doesn't explain what energy, mass, or speed is. You have to research further. E equals mc squared could also not be a final equation for future truths. For the image I'm presenting, there are absolutely still questions of what 1, 2, 3, and beyond are, and how each of them react to everything else and why. Yeah. I do not need to know what it is like to exist. As you, for this theory to function, that is. Oh, let me start over. I do not need to know what it is like to exist as you, for this theory to function. That is where it goes further. You can place any concept or idea within each category, and it still proves itself so far to be true. The goal being to find every way it could be untrue in order to reach and find further truths. Fit the equation with time, space, and energy, and it is still as true as as if you fill it with a wall or a fish or and sound. Fit the equation with time, space, and energy, and it is still as true as if you were to fill it with a wall or fish and sound. The actions available to you or any one of whatever actions are available within, and without reality to whatever you're plugging into the equation. If one is an atom, then the actions available are whatever and everything available to the limits of atoms are. I mean, if two is paint, then two has the limits and properties of itself, so on and so forth. You have always had the ability to add entities or influence. Every thought you've ever had is an entity. Took a poop today? That is an entity. Have you ever built or created something? That is an entity. And not only are you creating entities, but so are just about every other entity within existence. Entities simply have a way of becoming or happening over time, and they represent and react with and as any and every possible personality or property they are given. So, say that you are a leaf, then you only have the limited properties and personality of a leaf, and you deal with reality as a leaf does. Knowing that we exist is one of the knowing that we exist is one of the few things that we epistemically are able to know. Just as Descartes reasoned, finding what exists by elimination of things with doubt and using reductionism, declared, I think, therefore I am. To our current knowledge, that is the furthest and one of the few, if not only, true epistemic knowledge we have. And who knows, it could possibly eventually go even further. Even if we are a fabrication of reality, that fabrication still exists as reality, and we within it. Even if you were to consider solipsism, that you were somehow the only entity in the entire universe forming this reality, I, as a part of you, would still exist through you as not you. So then, for us as thinkers, it comes down to conscious belief. Everything that you know is just a belief based on all the information and experience you've ever been presented with, regardless of whether it or anything is true or false. Reality still theoretically exists without consciousness, unless we find that the core natures of reality are also co-constructed and or entangled with consciousness. So now that you have been presented with more information from an outside source that is not yourself, do you have any doxastic defeaters or counter beliefs or normative defeaters, counter evidence? What I am seeking is your doubt and why, in order to advance this information epistemically. Peer disagreement defeats knowledge. If we are in disagreement, we know that neither of us completely understand or are able to communicate absolute knowledge, or else those disagreeing would theoretically be able to understand and reach agreement. Okay.
And that is pages 271 through 280. There's two more paragraphs that are a response to Will, but we'll continue that in the next video. I will say that Will never responded to this comment, and I don't know when he did, but he no longer is friends with me on Facebook. So I don't know if this was the catalyst to that or what. But Will, if you're watching, thanks for being a part of it. And so let's see what Hayley has to say about what she read.
That was so interesting. I've heard you talk about this, Sean. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk back after. I can do like a quick video after I send this to you if you need me to, but I love this so much so far. It makes me want to read the whole thing. And I love that you've documented this over the years and worked on this so hard. I mean, it's amazing. It's like a full book and so interesting to me. I also really want to read like a lot of the stuff that was on that reading list, which I know that might be just like a side note, but I loved everything you the books that I knew. I loved that you included them, and then some just like seemed so interesting. So yeah, let me know if you need anything else. I very much enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
And so that was a semi-review. I still, after this, asked if Hayley could, because everyone had the clear instructions to do the reading and give their thoughts on everything. But I'll take what I can get. So, Hayley, thank you very much for your readings and sharing your thoughts. And you, listener, watcher, reader, thank you for listening and potentially sharing your thoughts. I hope you do engage with this information in some way, or just engage with funk. So thank you for watching, listening, reading, existing, verbing, hopefully engaging. I love you, whoever you are, whatever you are. Thanks for being here. And in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And as always, y'all, the funk provides. Peace.